All right. Welcome to the Wealth and Motivation Show, hosted by yours truly, Michael Dillard. Get your pen and paper ready. We have a special guest coming up talking about money and motivation. The purpose of today's show is to talk to business leaders and entrepreneurs about their journey to success and what motivated them along the way. For those of you all who are not familiar with me, I'm the author of Accidental Success, Accidental Millionaire Retirement, and also the author of Build Generational Wealth. All right. All right, let's get ready to welcome Michael Shabazz, the owner of MJS Property Investments. If you can, in the comment section, please type in pound MJS. Let's welcome Michael Shabazz. Hi, Michael. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. I'm doing excellent. Thank you. How about yourself? Thank you for having me.
Doing wonderful. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to come share some of your wealth and knowledge with the listeners today.
It is my pleasure.
All right. If you don't mind, Michael, please tell us where you're from and how you got started becoming a real estate investor.
I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, and I got started investing in real estate from a general interest in real estate. I always wanted to be involved and to have rental properties as a landlord, even before I knew much about real estate. I remember back in 2007, there's an artist by the name of Rich Boy that had a hit song called Throw Some D's. And if you're familiar with that song, it says, buy a Cadillac and throw some D's on it. Throw some D's on it. And back then, at the time, I was still a writer. And I had a bar that said, why you buy a Cadillac and throw some D's on it, I'd rather buy some real estate and flip that till I'm rich boy, So I always had a mind and an interest and wanted to go and learn about investing in real estate at some point. Now, that really didn't come until several years later. I started learning about real estate by just investing in education, starting out with books and real estate. There was a pretty popular guy at the time by the name of Jay Morrison, Real Estate Academy. I gained some of my foundational training and information through investing in some of the starter courses at the time. And from there, I did what I recommend to a lot of people as well, which is join my local REIA group, which stands for Real Estate Investor Association, and begin going to all of the different classes in different niches of real estate and just figuring out what it is that I wanted to do, what path that I wanted to take, and started making forging those important relationships, which is very key in real estate.
Wow, that's deep right there. Investing, with the analogy of the Cadillac and et cetera. Yeah, that goes way back. So expanding upon that, what motivated you in the beginning?
What really motivated me was the desire to create passive income or semi-passive income. I desired to create a new legacy of generational wealth for me and my family. And real estate piqued my interest even more when I learned that real estate is actually the number one wealth producing and generating asset in the world. Nothing outperforms real estate in the building and creation of wealth. So that drove me to be even more aggressive about learning everything I could and just building from there, as well as it goes to real estate investing and holding and learning about the different tax benefits, as well as the opportunity to totally bypass taxes in some instances through things like 1031 exchanges.
That's deep. Some of the tax advantages. Are you able to expound upon one or two topics that kind of resonated with you in regards to tax advantages?
Definitely. Whenever you own a property for investment purposes, and also some benefits with your personal home, you have things like depreciation, where you're able to write off a certain amount of tax savings based on the depreciation of that asset over time. But specifically, the one that I just mentioned that has been a tool of the wealthy for decades and decades is the 1031 exchange. And what that basically is say if you bought a property for $100,000 and over the next 20 to 25 years, that property appreciated in value and became worth $1 million. Now, if you just sold that property, now not only do you have to pay long-term capital gains taxes on that property, but you also have to pay depreciation recapture for some of those taxes that you were able to not pay through depreciating that property throughout the years. But with the 1031 exchange, it would allow you to take the proceeds from that sale and invest it into another property. You could go out and purchase another property, say for $1 million, just put all of that money back into another property and keep kicking that can for taxes down the road. But the beautiful thing is that if you kept doing that until you passed away and you passed that property along to your heirs, to your children, or whoever inherited that property from you, they would actually inherit that property at what's called a stepped up basis. So if they wanted to sell that property as soon as they inherited it for that, whatever it was worth, say by the time they sell it, it's worth $2 million, they would literally own no taxes on that property because they inherited that property at a stepped up basis. So those are some of the wonderful and beautiful things that real estate can do for you.
Wow, man, that's deep. And I imagine it took you some time to really go through the tax code and to really understand the nuances between that.
It does. But, you know, one of the things about being consistent about going to the various real estate association meetings and forging relationships with other investors that are at a higher plateau and things of that nature, you just begin to pick up these various tips and add them to your toolbox. You might not need them at that particular point in time, but you will be able to often put it to use when it is appropriate in the future.
Oh, okay. So that kind of goes right into our next question we have for you. What is the difference between a real estate agent and a real estate investor?
The difference between a real estate agent and a real estate investor is generally real estate agents assist seller clients with listing, marketing, and selling properties for a commission, or assist buyer clients with finding and buying a property. They generally don't delve into investing in real estate, which as an investor, we are looking to purchase properties for a return. That's usually through, there are many different facets and ways that you can make money and invest in real estate, but two of the most popular, of course, are flipping properties, which is buying a property and either immediately reselling it. If you were able to purchase that property below its current value, you purchased it with equity, or more often doing a value add through some type of renovation and relisting and selling that property or buying that property and renovating. Sometimes investors actually buy at market and go ahead and put a rental client in that property and refinance some of their money back out of that property and take that money and invest it into another property and keep doing that process until they have the type of portfolio that they're looking for.
Okay. And so you mentioned portfolio, which sounds like people are buying more than one house?
Yes. You know, the mom and pop investor like myself, just like in the stock market or other investment areas, you have your institutional investors that, have their hedge funds that are buying large commercial assets, apartment complexes, and shopping centers and things of that nature. But a little bit more than 50% of the investors in the country are actually just mom and pop investors that work very hard and were able to save their money or build their credit and, house by house, brick by brick, build up their companies and their portfolios. So that's me. I'm a mom and pop investor, and most of us, we start with, one property and we just continue to build from there as our capital grows, our credit grows, and, over time, make a valuable business.
Okay. And you mentioned credit. Is it difficult, considering the market that we are in right now, to get credit compared to 2 years ago or maybe in 2008?
It definitely, well, I'll differentiate it when we're talking about credit. It is more difficult if you are an owner occupant that is looking to get a loan. Naturally, you will qualify for a much smaller loan because the interest rates have exploded so high. We're at the interest rates went back down a little bit Friday because of the market is a little happy about signs that inflation is starting to slow a bit. So the rates went back down a little, but generally we're about 7%. A year ago, or earlier this year, people were able to get less than 3%, less than half of that. So of course that's going to impact the size of the loan that people are able to afford, unfortunately. Now, when it comes to credit cards and different types of credit lines that some of us investors use to either fund rehabs or even purchase properties, the beautiful thing about that is that a lot of those products are based on your personal credit. And if you're able to play that game properly, you're still able to get nice credit lines, but naturally the interest rates that you have are going to be much more expensive, which naturally impacts your business in many ways as well.
All right. Thanks for sharing that knowledge with us. I know you've been in the real estate game for quite some time. For a person like you, how do you find your investment properties?
I find my properties in multiple ways. I'm not a retail buyer. By retail, many of us investors don't like to buy properties off what's called the MLS or the multiple listing service, because those properties, they're at market rates, and we need to find properties that either have a certain amount of equity in them to be able to cover our overhead and still make a profit, or that have the ability to do a value add, which is something like a renovation to increase the value of that property to make a profit. So the way I find my properties are by networking. A lot of family, friends, colleagues. I also market. They bring me properties, and I incentivize them as well as compensate them for consulting and helping me find property. So one of the main properties that I focus on are areas of probate or inherited properties. You know, a lot of times grandma or mom or dad may have passed away and they left a property that hasn't been updated in decades, or maybe the children or the inheritors don't even live in the same state and they just want to put cash. So I will help them through probate if needed and purchase those properties from them. Also, a lot of family, friends, and colleagues just driving around every day. If you're paying attention, you're often driving past properties that are vacant or what we call distressed. You know, they have code issues because they haven't fixed up the properties in a long time and they're rotting. They bring those properties to me. Tired landlords, other investors like myself, they may have been in the game a long time and they're ready to retire. Or more often than not, you have people that jump into the game that think they desire to be a landlord and realize that they're in over their heads, or they just don't like dealing with problem tenants and things of that nature. They sell me properties. Tax deeds. I go to the tax sale, and I also purchase properties at auction. These are properties where when people don't pay their property taxes over a certain time, the county puts a lien on the properties, and if you don't pay those liens, eventually they send your property to the auction so that they could collect their money. I go to those auctions and also sometimes purchase properties there. So those are some of the ways that I source different properties and deals.
Wow. Going to auctions, tax deeds sounds like a lot of work, but you've been investing for quite some time, which basically shows, you know, success doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, it takes dedication, it takes consistency to keep going. So question then, with the market up and down, mortgage rates, the economy, inflation, what inspires you to keep going, Michael?
A few deals can change your life. I've seen it in many different instances where just a few deals can change the entire trajectory of your financial situation for both you and your family. So both that and that desire to create a new legacy for my family and, you know, my bloodline and my last name really inspires me to continue pushing, to continue learning, and also to take this knowledge back to first, you know, my family, my friends, those that are close to me, and, you know, others in the community that really want to learn to also change the legacies for their family, you know, to get out of legacies of poverty and mediocrity and really being able to have the type of financial literacy, investment knowledge, and money to give them time wealth to spend with their families and live higher qualities of life. That's a huge inspiration for me.
Wow. That's a lot, man. It's a lot. So say I'm at my Thanksgiving dinner or celebrating, you know, Cultural Day or, you know, the different holiday festivities that come along. And someone has a property that they're like, oh, yeah, I got a property that I want to get rid of. How can they contact you, Michael?
They can contact me by going to my website at MJS It's at the bottom of the screen. You can go there and put in the information on the website, and it will send it over to me, and I or somebody on my team will get back to them promptly. Or you can also give me a call directly at 470-231-8911, which is on the website for the Georgia market. And my number for the Nashville market is on the website as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for being a guest today, Michael. Any last words before we conclude with the giveaway?
Definitely. Don't be afraid to get started. I recommend going to biggerpockets.com. That's like your pockets on your pants, biggerpockets.com. It is the largest online investor website in the country, I believe. It's free. You can sign up for a free account. They have all types of free trainings, forums where you can read and ask questions. They also have their own publishing with some of the most thorough investing books that can just really give you a great foundation to get started, but also importantly, to start that important network. Real estate networking is very important. Let people know what you need, what you're looking for, and you'll be surprised the abundance of what's delivered to you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Michael, thank you for your time. Next, coming up in a few days here on Wednesday, let me tell you all about the exciting guests we have coming up on Wednesday. Let me pull it up. 1 second, y'all.